there's our clitoral hood. So it covers our clitoris.
Pay attention, guys. There it is.
Hands up who thinks their pubic hair is unattractive, and about 90% of them did.
Why did you feel it was important that you bring out your own lube?
Women can orgasm through clitoral stimulation alone. We do not need to be pounded. You know?
Oh, I know.
But that's what we've been told.
Yes.
That's what we've been told. Penetrative sex is the only sex.
Laura is here. I finally get to chat to you. I'm delighted you're here because I know you're flat out doing talks about vaginas and vulva.
Great to be here. I love nothing more than talking to you about an old vagina.
You do. You love it. And you've come with a bag of tricks. Can we start with that? Because there's lots of bits over there.
This is my box. There's lots in it.
What is in your box, Laura?
Well, I have my vulva puppet, which actually your producer said, did you bring your slipper? Yeah, he thought it was a slipper. But anyway, I said, no, it's my puppet. So I brought my puppet. I brought my pessary rings to show you.
Can I have a look at your puppet?
Yeah. Because she's a bit battered now. She's been around the block.
She's a bit bashed, a bit like mine. She is famous in her own right. Now I know this is a podcast if you're listening, but it's a little cushion of the vagina, and it has all the bits. Mm-hmm. Has all the bits. Mm-hmm. I have to ask, did you make this yourself?
No, I actually got that imported from America a few years ago, and like I've made an entire show out of it. So she's paid for herself. She was $250 to import in. It's and then plus customs. And I bought another one. I have a black one as well, but I normally just bring the red one around with me. The black one is for black one's a bit posher.
Okay.
So I thought we'd get down and grungy with the battered one today.
For my pod. Okay, the battered one. Okay. This is a very stupid question. Can you talk me through all the bits?
Yeah, no problem.
I know it sounds... I feel stupid saying it.
But you're not. And that's the reason why I do what I do, because we're not taught about our bits as females. And then men aren't really taught about our bits either. And that's why there's such a disconnect between women and their bodies, and why women don't know that they can get help for so many issues, you know. So there's your labia minora. They're the fatter lips that are on the outside, and there's the labia minoris. They're the inside lips. So they can kind of hang out a little bit as we get older or have babies. They get a bit longer and maybe lose a bit of collagen and look a bit more wrinkly and less puffy. You know, there's all this labiaplasty now happening as well. Imagine, like, we can't just leave our faces alone now. They have us trying to make our vulvas look perfect.
We're definitely going to talk about that.
Yeah. So then there's our clitoral hood. So it covers our clitoris.
Pay attention, guys. There it is.
And there's our clitoris.
There she is.
There she is. Not to scale, obviously. She's a bit bigger than that. Smaller than that in real life. And then our vagina is actually just this bit here. Our urethra is there above the vagina, but under the clitoris. And it's just, I bring it out all the time because people normally refer to this entire specimen as the vagina. That's what we grew up referring to it as, either that or your Fanny or your Betsy or your Mary, but we never learnt the bits.
No.
So the vagina is actually only the hole in the inside, whereas there's all these other beautiful parts of the anatomy that we're not taught about and that we don't know the changes that can happen with them as we, go through puberty, go through pregnancy, go through perimenopause and menopause. So that's why I try and dispel the myths. It's not actually that crazy. It's just that if we knew the names and knew what our body parts looked like, we'd be much more discerning.
Do you think women of a certain age are as in the dark as I am? I would suspect that women in their 40s, from our sex education and the education we had around our bodies and anatomy and all that we're all a bit like, oh, what's that bit? And oh my God, that's what that looks like. Because I remember, this is quite shameful even saying, but I remember the first time I put a mirror down there, and it was when I was pregnant.
Okay, yeah.
And that's quite late in life because I was in my mid-30s, and that was the first time actually looking at it up close, and you know what I mean? Yeah. Looking at it in a mirror like that, and I thought, oh, that's really what it looks like.
I know.
But it was so late for me because obviously I thought, is it shameful to do? There's this kind of element of shame around looking at your bits and touching your bits and all that kind of stuff. Would you find that is the general consensus for a lot of women my age?
Definitely. Yeah. Even kind of 30s, mid 30s plus. I think our younger generation are a little bit more knowledgeable about it. They talk about things a bit more, like young girls are talking about periods in a way that we never used to in school, I suppose. But they still don't know basic things. You know, I went to and did a talk to 1,000 girls there a couple of weeks ago for the Shona project. It's this Shine Festival. And I was talking to 16-year-olds, 15, 16-year-olds. And I was telling them about their anatomy, and I was talking to them about their pubic hair and the fact that pubic hair is actually protective. And, you know, the fact that we're expected to rip it all off is actually so silly. And so I actually started the conversation with hands up who thinks their pubic hair is unattractive. And about 90% of them did. And I said, hands up who thinks they need to remove it. And same again, 90% of them did. So then when I said, you know, do you think boys are expected to remove their pubic hair? And they're like, no. So even just saying that to them and planting that seed, a lot of them come up to me afterwards and goes, oh my God, I never knew that about pubic hair. Like, you know, and a lot of them are lasering it off now, so they'll never get it back. So it's just those kind of constant,
I've done that.
Yeah, so those conversations, so it actually protects your vulval skin from abrasion during sex, from friction. It also has a little microbacteria there to keep your vulval skin healthy. It keeps you warm as well and protects against STIs.
Really?
And we're removing it. Yeah, it does. It's like it's a barrier against them. You know, like it's obviously you need to use a condom, but even just it's the first form of defence from STIs. So it's just so interesting that we have learned to remove it and to think that it's unattractive, and we're telling, like, our young girls think that. So, and even the fact that we never learnt that our clitoris is there and that it's the only organ in the human body that's designed for pleasure, like for male and female. So the penis, you know, they wee out of their penis as well as having sex, but our clitoris is actually purely designed for pleasure. But whoever told you about your clitoris when you were younger?
There's a lot of things that we weren't told. And one of the biggest things that I learned later in life again, and actually through talking to an expert, a doctor, about this on my radio show, and it was how important it is to pee before or after sex.
So important to pee, particularly after sex, because the bacteria can be pushed up into the urethra. Our urethra is about 5 centimetres long. Our men's urethras are 20 centimetres long. So by that very nature, bacteria can get pushed up into the urethra, up into the bladder, and cause infections much quicker in women.
Like
and
UTIs.
in men, like UTIs. So, and then that's why some women might find, like there was an expression years ago, honeymoon, you know, you come back from your honeymoon and you have a UTI, but sure, we're all having sex before we go on honeymoon now. But yeah, so women would find they go away on holidays, and if they're having lots of sex, or some women would find every time they have sex, they can get a UTI. So yeah, it's really important to pee because you're flushing that out.
But once I learned that, I never had a UTI again.
Isn't that mad? So no time for pillow talk. You just have to run to the bathroom and then you can run back for the pillow talk.
Exactly.
Right?
But it's just such an important thing, and I just wish I knew it 10 years earlier. That's the thing. What else do you wish girls knew or know now that's really important about their vaginas?
So I wish that they knew that they were all different shapes and sizes. They're like snowflakes. They're unique. Not one of them is the same. And our young people today are growing up on, they're using porn as a form of sex education, right? So that's where they normally see sex for the first time. And they're probably consuming a lot more of it than any of us ever would have done, because it's just so readily available to them. So both boys and girls, right? So they are looking at these women in pornography films or whatever, and they look perfect. You know, they've symmetrical labia, they've no hair, they've probably had work done, they've pneumatic boobs, and they think that they need to look like that. So when they look down at themselves and they don't see that, they think that they're unattractive or ugly. And that has a knock-on effect on the way they perceive themselves, their self-confidence, how they actually have sex, if they enjoy it or not. But also it affects how boys look at women too. So, you know, I was even speaking to a woman there after one of my talks a few weeks back, and she said that her young lad came in, he was in his early 20s, and he had been with a woman the night before, and he said to his mum, "Oh my God, mum, like she had hair down there." Ugh. So like the boys are now they are being conditioned to think that natural, normal pubic hair is actually either unattractive or dirty.
Is that can we reverse that?
I don't
that irreversible?
know.
It seems like such a huge thing to undo, because it's years and years of conditioning, isn't it?
It is. And you know, it is. And whatever about, like, I remember the 1990s, if you were going away on holiday, you get your bikini waxed like probably once or twice a year when you were going away on holiday, so you wouldn't have a bush when you were, you know, sticking out of your bikini bottoms. But then the likes of Sex and the City came along. They made waxing everything off, or just having a landing strip, really sexy and empowering almost. And that just had such a knock-on effect in society. So I don't know if we can undo it, but I think that we can educate it, and we can certainly make young girls think twice about it.
Yeah.
But
how do we do that,
some
Laura?
girls just want to please young boys, don't they? And they just want to be attractive and they want to fit in and they don't want to be. So it's just, I know, it's a tricky one. It really is.
I'm having, obviously, not pubic hair, but just even hair, like bodily hair. Like my daughter is 11 and she's half Italian, so she has dark hair. Now she's not very dark, but she has hair in her legs.
Yeah.
And somebody in school pointed that out, and it's quite, you know, I find myself in a situation where I'm trying to explain to her why it's okay and it's normal and it's natural, but then I myself have had my legs lasered. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's quite a contradiction. So I'm trying to undo a lot of stuff and make sure she's okay. But you know, she's quite a confident young girl, and I think she'll be okay in the end. But I suppose just having those conversations, and showing them that there is another way and there is alternatives, and is so important, isn't it?
Yeah, and like they can wax, but they don't need to like wax it all off, or they can you know, it's just important to have the conversations and to tell them that they're actually totally natural and normal, and then that they don't need to clean their vaginas either.
We need to talk about this because you know, online there's a lot of noise around things you can do to your vagina. It's a big business, isn't it? Whether it's
a $1 billion industry.
Steaming. Can we talk about steaming?
Like, you'll end up in hospital if you try and steam your vagina. Your vagina needs nothing. It's a self-cleaning oven. It is the most smart organ in the body. It self-cleans. It creates a discharge that just cleans itself. So every 96 hours, it reproduces itself and forms new cells. So the discharge that we get is your vagina cleaning itself. It does not need anything shoved up there to clean it. So, you know, and I've never seen a product called Willy Fresh.
No.
So all of these feminine freshness products, even the word freshness, insinuating that we're not fresh if we don't smell of roses, like it's outrageous. So if a girl does decide, or a woman, that she's going to douche herself or shove stuff up there, she's going to disrupt the microbiome.
Yes.
You know, trying to fragrance it or trying to soap it up. And that then can lead to either bacterial vaginosis or thrush. So it's just or irritation or itching. So all of those things are really important. You can obviously wash the outside and put a bit of like a mild soap or a cleanser on the outside. If you all get a bit sweaty, obviously we don't want to go around smelling. But your vagina doesn't smell.
It is a self-cleaning oven. That is a very good way to describe it. What's that pessary you have down there?
Oh yeah, so this. So I have two pessaries here. I have a silicone pessary ring for prolapse, and then I have vaginal estrogen pessary. So will I show you the vaginal estrogen pessary first? So this is just one off.
Just show the camera.
Oh yeah, this is one off a few products that are on the market. This is actually not reusable. So this comes in. This is just like a one application. So this is designed to go up into the vagina, and you pop it out. And you see, look, that's the size of a Tic Tac, like it's a tiny little tablet.
And what does that do? So
that is vaginal estrogen, and that basically helps the vaginal, the pelvic floor, the urinary tract infections. When a woman goes through perimenopause and menopause, her estrogen levels will drop, and she can get all kinds of symptoms in her pelvic region, ranging from sexual discomfort, vaginal dryness, irritation, regular urinary tract infections, pelvic organ prolapse. This vaginal estrogen in any form, so whether it be this pessary, whether it be a cream that I have, like just replaces that estrogen, and it really helps women. And I've started to say actually women should be going into their coffins with the vaginal estrogen inside them, because you're never going to actually replace the estrogen unless you're putting it in, you know, via this way. And some women just put up with awful discomfort. Like you'll have women that are incontinent for years. So say maybe 1 in 3 might experience incontinence in their lifetime. That increases to 1 in 2 post-menopause. And they just go around in dark trousers. They wear big thick pads. They don't dance. They stop exercising because they can't move without leaking. So and they think it's normal. Estrogen can help. It can help. Yeah, it can help with incontinence. It can help with, as can like pelvic floor exercises, of course. It can help with pelvic organ prolapses, which is where your womb or your bladder or your bowel will fall into your vagina.
Lovely.
Yeah, it's really lovely. And, you know, vaginal births can, obviously, they're a big risk factor for that. But, you know, women post-menopause that haven't had babies can also have that. There's a look.
Okay. Do you need to have symptoms to start taking this? Like, and does it need to be prescribed, or what's the
So it's prescribed by a doctor in Ireland. So it's available over the counter in the UK. But symptoms are... there's a vast amount of symptoms. So you could be experiencing regular urinary tract infections. So regular urinary tract infections is more than 3 in a year.
Okay.
You know, we've lots of older women that experience regular urinary tract infections and they just get antibiotic after antibiotic and they go delirious with the infection, everything like that, and that's all they get, and they're not given a vaginal estrogen, which would actually stop that. So symptoms, say, for someone like you and me, could be that we don't get as wet when we're turned on as we normally would have done in our younger years. And that is due to just a lack of estrogen causing that wetness to occur. So, and women that breastfeed would experience that too. So women that breastfeed can use these too. So sometimes that's the first symptom. You'd be like, I'm turned on and I want to have sex with my partner, but actually I'm not that wet. So, and that can make you feel kind of, oh God, I'm getting old. And people kind of get embarrassed because they might feel that they need to use lube. But lube is great. You should just use lube. Use a vaginal friendly lube, obviously, not one that heats or that tingles. You know, I always say, would you use something that heats or tingles on your face if you have dermatitis in your face? So don't be using it on your fanny, okay?
Don't do it.
So use the lube if you're feeling discomfort, but also vaginal estrogen can really help with that.
Does this take effect straight away, or do you need to be on it for a while?
You need to use it for about 14 nights in a row.
Okay.
As your loading dose, and then you can reduce down to 2 or 3 times a week depending on how much you need it. But what we find in the pharmacy is women will get the first 1 or 2 packs and then they're grand and they feel great and all the symptoms go, and then they stop using it, but then the symptoms will come back and then they need to go into the back into the loading dose. So you need to be invested in it. I always say, look, just put it in your phone. Tuesdays and Fridays I stick it in there at night time, and
twice a week
and on you go.
And you can get that as well. You can get that in the UK over the counter.
You can get that in the UK over the counter. It's called, oh no, my box of tricks.
That's okay. Some rubber ring just flew out onto the floor, and I don't know what that is.
Dildos and everything in here. That is the vaginal estrogen cream, okay? So that can be inserted with an applicator, or it can be rubbed on the outside, on the clitoral area, because your clitoris can shrink as well with this low estrogen. So, you know, women are trying to achieve orgasm and their libido might be low due to the fact that they're in perimenopause and menopause, and then also if their clitoris is shrinking, it's very difficult to achieve orgasm. So they can rub that on the outside of their vulval area. They can plump up the labia majora, labia minora, which can shrink due to the lack of estrogen. Your clitoris can shrink as well, and that can just help. But people are like, this is unlicensed use now. People are using it on their face for wrinkles because it's actually really good to help promote collagen production. That's how it works. It promotes collagen production in your vagina.
That in my pocket. Can I ask you a random question? I was talking to a woman recently about perimenopausal symptoms, and she said in Spain they're all for taking a more natural, holistic approach, and they take a lot of yam.
Well,
have you heard this?
Well, yam has phytoestrogens in it.
Okay, so this is a good thing.
Yeah, so yam has, and there's like estrogen. There is commercial estrogen being made from wild yams as well. So that, as in the pharmaceutical industry. So yeah, yams do have natural phytoestrogens in them, but I don't know how much of them you need to consume to actually get the benefits of it. And obviously you don't know the concentrations, you don't know how much you need, you don't know, and I don't know about applying yams up into your vagina. Like, you would need it to be...
Could you eat it? Could you?
Oh, you could certainly eat it, yeah. So people do eat wild yams, and it is known that they do have natural phytoestrogens in them. But it's just that you don't know how much you need to consume to actually get that. It's like, you know, soy isoflavones. They also have natural phytoestrogens in them, but how much do you need to consume of them to actually get the effects?
Okay, well, these are great, and it's great to have these on the market, I suppose, to relieve our symptoms. But is there anything we can do lifestyle-wise to help our vaginal health? Oh, yeah, loads. Well, first of all, like diet, exercise, sleep. That's a given, yeah? Your lubricants you can use when you're having sex. Let's get into that, because you did mention there nothing that tingles or is hot or makes noises or whatever. Any of those random stuff.
All singing, all dancing lubes, no. Yeah. Something natural with minimal ingredients is the best thing for you to use, you know, and I think that the more ingredients that are added, the more likely you are to be allergic or get affected by them. So just go for something really nice. Anything that has a big phallic symbol on it, or that says I'm going to heat or I'm going to prolong your orgasm, stay away from.
Coconut oil?
Coconut oil can be used. I know a number of gynecologists that like that, but it will also, if someone is using a condom, it will obviously affect the integrity of the condom. So anything oil-based will do that. And obviously, you know, if someone is out there and they're having sex with different people, you're advising them to have not have condomless sex. But if you're in a monogamous relationship, the coconut oil can help, absolutely. I suppose you wouldn't want to be sticking your finger into coconut oil that you've been sticking a spoon in for cooking. You'd need to
keep them separate.
Keep it separate. And so coconut oil, yeah. And then also there's natural, there are vaginal moisturisers out there. Like there's pessaries in them that you can buy in pharmacies and health food stores without prescription, and creams too that can really help women, that can just give that lovely feeling inside.
I do find that if you go to a pharmacy, you're just kind of overwhelmed by these lubes that are all singing and all dancing. Like where would
Made by men for men.
Yeah, like where do we find these nice lubes for?
There are some in pharmacies. There's a product called Yes that's good. It's sold in pharmacies. I'm actually bringing out my own lube next year. Yeah, Q1 2026. Yeah.
Amazing.
I've been working on it for absolutely years. The hoops that you've jumped through regulation wise as well, so that you can actually say that it's safe to use inside your vagina and it'll help and treat vaginal dryness. So yeah, I don't know what exact dates. That's really exciting because I've always wanted to do that.
That is exciting. Is that an exclusive you're giving to me?
You're the first person I've told, actually, yeah.
Because it's so needed, but we just don't know where to go, and they're so hard to find.
I know, they are, yeah. So there's those. And then if you ask the pharmacist or you ask the healthcare assistant in there to direct you to something, you can do. But generally, do I have one that's that? No, I don't.
You had a little ring there that fell out of your box. What is that now?
So this is a silicone pessary ring. So this is designed to help with pelvic organ prolapse. So do you remember I was telling you your bladder can fall into your uterus, your bladder or your bowel or your uterus can fall into your vagina, and it can give a dragging and a heavy sensation. Generally it can happen post vaginal deliveries, but as I said, as women get older and as their pelvic floor slackens a little bit, it doesn't keep everything as up and as tight, so it can happen then too. So this goes up into your vagina, pops up, it acts like scaffolding in a ceiling, and it just holds everything up there, and you can avoid surgery with it. You can be more comfortable, you can exercise with it, you can even have sex with it, so the penis can either go through it or under it depending on where it's placed.
Wow.
And the size of the penis too, obviously. And like this is actually a medium-sized one, and whenever I show women this, they always go, oh my goodness, that's massive, that's not going to fit inside my vagina. But actually your vagina is a lot smaller, a lot bigger than you think, so it might be nice and tight on the outside,
but
inside it's like a cave.
It's roomy.
It opens up into like a nice big funnel.
Okay.
It's kind of like that kind of shape.
Okay.
So there's loads of things that women can do, and that's why I wrote the book. And I devoted an entire 2 chapters about prolapse and about incontinence, because
is that really common, incontinence?
It's very common. It is very, very common, and it's 50% of women will leak post-menopause, and they just put up with it. And it's embarrassing.
Is it just women who have had vaginal births?
No,
or is it?
Oh, no. Yeah, and for some people it's hereditary, so they might get it in their late teens, early 20s. So absolutely not. It's not just vaginal deliveries. It's not just pregnancy in general. So, and a lot of it will happen for the first time, say post-menopause or in those perimenopausal phases when your pelvic floor is slackening. Everything is kind of just a little bit looser. So it's really important that women go to see a pelvic floor physio. If they can. They're not free in this country unless you've had like a 4th degree tear, unfortunately. So, but it was really important that women go to see a pelvic floor physio after each delivery. But even if you haven't, go to one now. It'll be the best like 100 to 150 euro you'll ever spend, because the pelvic floor physio will put her finger up into your vagina, feel where you're a little bit weak. Maybe if you need a ring, they'll give you one, they'll prescribe you one. They can also prescribe you or advise you to get vaginal estrogen from your doctor, give you some pelvic floor exercises, and it means that you can live a much happier, healthier life as you get older, because it's not now that it really affects us. 10 years, 15 years time, we still want to be healthy and active, and like you work out, I can see your guns.
Thank you.
So you want to be able to do that when you're in your 70s and stay well and independent, because it's what happens to women is when they stop exercising, their mobility decreases, their flexibility decreases, their strength decreases, and they don't live as much of an independent life then. And even just the muscles that you need to get up from the toilet, to sit up from the toilet, is so they're your glutes, your legs. So your leg strength is directly proportional to your longevity and how healthy you will live the last 10 years of your life. And women don't exercise because they leak or because they've prolapse. So if they know the easy tools that they can use to really help them with that, they'll have
Or
much
even that there
better
are
outcomes.
tools out there for them to
Yes,
help them
some
now.
women, and some women just think that they're the only ones that are suffering. And that's why I started doing the shows, because I was going around doing the talks around the country, and I'd have women coming up to me after every talk going, I can't believe you said that. Like, I've been peeing my pants for 15 years and I just am too embarrassed to even talk to my doctor or my husband about it. And so I was getting that feedback, and then I was getting bolder and bolder as the talks went on, and more women were talking to me. So then I said, I need to do a show. And then sure, after the show's all sold out, I was like, I need to write a book, because not everyone can come to the show. So I've just learnt it on the job that women are not being talked to. They're not educated about their own bodies. And if they learnt, like, women just want to know, and their men just want to know too. Like, it isn't men against women. I find when men hear me speak, or they also will come up and go, if only I'd known this 10 years ago, I could have been so much of more of a support to my wife.
Do you think most women or all women should have their own gynecologist? Because I know a lot of women will just go see their GP or whatever. But I was in the gym recently. I was working out with a friend. She was like, I have my gynecologist. She's amazing. She tested me to see if I was in the menopause because I was having a few symptoms. And, you know, and I thought, gosh, do I need a really good gynecologist now?
We have a different healthcare system over here. I know, like in France, say, young girls are introduced to their gynecologist when they get their first period, I think. So it's like a normal thing that they have a gynae. Over here, medicine is practiced a little bit differently. So you'll go to your GP, and if there's GP can't sort you out, you'll be referred to a gynecologist. There probably aren't enough gynecologists in the country for everyone to have their own individual gynecologist. But I think if women understand their own bodies, and they know that if something happens, then whatever it is, it's totally normal. So from STIs to BV to pelvic organ prolapse to, you know, issues post-cancer treatment when their vaginas feels like as if it's sandpaper. If they know that all of that is normal, as in it's something that can happen women, but also that they can go somewhere for help, so they educate themselves, then that's the best place to be. Because then if they go to their doctor and say, I've X, Y and Z symptom, and their doctor doesn't know how to treat them, they can refer them on.
Okay.
Yeah. So it would be great if everyone had their own gynae, but I just don't think there's enough of them in the country.
Let me rephrase that then. A female doctor.
Oh, female doctor. Yeah. Well, look, I know loads of male doctors that are absolutely wonderful, and they're such advocates for females and the patients that they look after, and they're wonderful. They really are, and they've done so much for women. But I also know that women feel very comfortable with female doctors too, and thankfully in this country we have loads of female doctors that are up and coming. You know, with the way we've shifted our education towards, you know, the fact that women have equal opportunities now to study medicine, and it's encouraged. So yes, there's loads of female doctors that women can go to. But so I've only had female doctors throughout my pregnancies, and then, you know, post-pregnancy, and I have a female pelvic floor physio friend / someone that has inspected me too. So I feel very comfortable with females, and I know a lot of females do, but equally so, it would be unfair for me to suggest that the male gynaes out there aren't absolutely wonderful, because a lot of them are.
And I suppose you made a very good point. If you're educated yourself and you know your symptoms, you can go in and save a lot of time and a lot of money by going, I have this, this and this.
Yeah, and get to know what your vagina and your vulva look like when it's normal. So get a mirror out and have a look at it and open it up. And, you know, make sure you know where all the bits are, because then if there is an issue, if there is skin changes, if there is, you know, atrophy there due to perimenopause and menopause, you'll know that it's there, and you'll be able to go and get help, rather than just going, oh God, I've a bit of an itch down there, I'm just going to slap a bit of Canesten cream on it and hope for the best. Because that's what we see as well. People self-treating for thrush when it isn't thrush at all. It could be dermatitis, it could be lichen sclerosus, which is an autoimmune disease of the skin of the vulva, where the labia can become fused, the clitoris can become buried. So all of those things, if you know from a standing start what your vulva looks like, then you'll know when there's changes. There's also vulval cancer to look out for too. So yeah.
Dr. Google can be an awful thing as well, you know, and can be quite a scary thing. Is there any resources or websites out there that's a good go-to for women to ask questions or? So
I suppose the standard places to go to would be the nhs.co.uk, the HSE, the British Menopause Society as well. It does good public. It does, you know, obviously there's a paywall for practitioners like myself, but it does good public articles too. CDC, that's the Centre for Disease Control. So all of those standard websites would have the most up-to-date information for people. And I think that you do have to be careful about forums and Google and things like that. I try and put out a good bit of information myself online as well. So
what about your, obviously being on the front line as a pharmacist? Pharmacists, they've seen it all, they've heard it all as well. I think we do forget in this country just to go and to chat to them. We tend to go straight to our GP and, you know, dish out, you know, 60 to 70 quid when we could have easily just gone to the pharmacist, given our symptoms. And there's a lot of help there as well, isn't there?
There is, yeah. And pharmacists are very well trained to know when they can advise a patient whether or not to use a product, like, you know, like an antifungal cream, or whether they need to be referred on to a doctor as well. So so the first protocol, if you feel comfortable enough with your pharmacist, obviously, is to go and have a chat with them. They will absolutely help you out.
Put a hat on and a pair of glasses and just, you know.
But you know what? There's no need to be ashamed.
I know,
you
but it's just in us.
But it's like an elbow. You're just discussing something that's, you know, you're not, if the pharmacist isn't going to examine you in the shop, you know, but you can discuss your symptoms. And they can best advise you on your symptoms alone even. And then obviously if you need to go for an examination, that's really important. You go to your doctor. It's just
awful. It's awful. I mean, I've just got over buying tampons for myself. Do you know what I mean? It's just in me. It's just been there. It's years of conditioning, and I'm really, really trying to work on myself and to be more open and, you know, pass that on to my little one. I think, well, she's going to be totally fine.
Yeah, you know, and that's great that she will be. But yeah, it's the years of conditioning. It is difficult for people. Sure, even my book name, like Love Your Vulva, like some people are like, oh my God.
How did the boys? You have 3 boys.
Yeah, they're mortified by me. Of course they are.
But do you have these really open and honest conversations?
Oh, they know everything.
They know everything. Oh, yeah. Oh my God. And are they intrigued? Are they?
No, it's like they're mortified by me. But no, they are actually. I think that they're happy that they know this stuff. They really are, because, you know, why wouldn't they be? Knowledge is power.
You said you spoke to a load of girls there at the Shona Project. Would you like to speak to more boys and more teenage boys, to educate them as well?
I don't think boys would relate to me as much as teenage girls. I think boys would relate to a man speaking to them about their private parts. Like, I could maybe speak to them a little bit about girl parts. It's not that I have a problem speaking about the penis or anything.
That's what I mean. I mean,
no,
speaking to them about girls' parts so they know where.
Yeah, I just don't know if me turning up in a glittery dress, which is what I do, would have the same effect on them as a male. You know, boys like to relate to people that they like to relate to other men. So absolutely, I have no problem doing it. But I think that probably a man doing it, they get probably more out of.
Okay.
You know?
And let's just finally talk about, I just want to talk about intimacy, and we touched on that a little bit with lube and all that kind of stuff. Why did you feel it was important that you bring out your own lube?
Because when I was in the pharmacy, you know, women would come into me and they may be prescribed vaginal estrogen for vaginal dryness or whatever other symptoms they might be experiencing. And when I said to them, so are you using a lubricant when you're having sex, they'd nearly want the ground to swallow them up.
Yeah.
Which I find, which is interesting, but I live in Ireland. I've grown up in Ireland, you know, so I'm fully aware of the stigma around talking about sex. So, but I find it interesting that women would have dry vaginas, which is affecting their sex life most likely, and yet they're not going to use lube when they're having sex, because I think they either think it's too kinky or too dirty, or, you know, there's kind of
they feel less of a person.
And then, if they're not lubricating themselves, they might feel like as if they're getting old, or they're not, you know, and their partner then is like, oh God, am I not turning you on enough? So, but once they got over the initial embarrassment, they're like, actually, do you know what? I never really thought of that. And then when I would suggest a lube or give them a lube, they would come in and go, actually, that's so much better, it's so much more comfortable, and my partner loves it. Like, no partner's going to turn around and go, oh my goodness, there's no way I'm going to not use something that's going to help my sex life. You know, partners are totally up for it.
Isn't it amazing? Like, one of the things you said today that really just kind of jumped out at me is the clit, the one piece of the anatomy that has been designed purely for pleasure, and a lot of us can't even feckin' find it. Yeah, you know, it's amazing.
Yeah, and women will have, like, women can orgasm through clitoral stimulation alone. We do not need to be pounded. You know?
Oh, I know.
But that's what we've been told.
Yes.
That's what we've been told. Penetrative sex is the only sex.
Yeah.
Sure, you know, the amount of things that can be done without penetrative sex. So, and apparently lesbians are having the best orgasms.
They're having the best
They
sex,
know
apparently.
exactly what to be doing with themselves.
They're having the best sex.
And even like I brought a couple of dildos with you, not as a shock factor and to be like this sex person, but actually when I do talks and there's older women in the audience and I bring out, like, say, for instance, this little thing. I don't know what it's called. It might be called a bullet or something. But this is just like a little, it's like a little small finger.
Yeah.
Like a baby finger. And, if a woman, say, has difficulty orgasming or has been having trouble with with sex, or maybe her partner, she doesn't have a partner, she can just apply this. It's lost its battery. I must have overused it. She can apply this to her clitoris, and
isn't that? Orgasm. Can I have a look at that? Isn't that a lovely, non-offensive vibrator?
Yeah,
like it's not. It doesn't. I'm just going to show it to the camera here.
Phallic symbol.
It doesn't. It's like, see, you could have that in your handbag and just
nobody knows what it is. It looks like a little tampon.
It is. It does look like a tampon. Yeah, the battery's gone on that one. And this one as well.
Yeah. And I've had women. I had a woman coming up to me. This was a number of years ago after I did a talk like that, and I was talking about the use of these kind of objects, and she said to me, she must be about 75, and she goes, I haven't had an orgasm since my husband died. 15 years ago. Do you know how I could give myself one? And I said, because this woman probably never talked about masturbation at all, and I said, well, you can manually do it yourself, but also, like, I gave her the name of sexshoppa.ie, which does nice discreet sex toys and delivers them discreetly to your home. And I told her, just go for the smallest one, and you could work your way up. Anyway, I got an amazing email from her saying, Jesus, I didn't actually realise what I was missing out on for the last number of years.
And now I'm onto the turbo blaster.
Yeah, this is it. I have the hairdryer.
No, it is amazing, and we've definitely come a long way. And there's just so many health benefits to masturbating. Isn't there?
Yeah.
For women, there's so many benefits, psychologically, mentally, physically, emotionally.
Stress relief, of course.
But it's always the bottom of the list. I do find when we talk about health, it's always physical health, mental health, and rightly so. But our sexual health and well-being is always the bottom of the list. And we tend to leave that very lastminute.com, where we don't pay much attention to it like we do the others. Are we having a bit of a change now? Is there a bit of a shift?
I don't know. I would hope so. Like, we never talked about masturbation when we were younger. It was always just accepted that boys did it, but girls didn't. You'd never talk about it amongst your friends the way boys would have done or anything like that. So hopefully it's shifting amongst our younger generation. And it's obviously the safest form of sex, It would be great to think that. But even women, say, post-cancer treatment, so women that have had, say, breast cancer, an estrogen receptor positive breast cancer, that are thrown into menopause overnight, they have severe symptoms, because it isn't just a slow build-up that, say, the likes of you and I might expect. They are thrown into menopause overnight, and they have severe pelvic symptoms and vaginal issues and things like that. And it can, and even just the way they look at their own body, whether or not they've had a mastectomy or not, or a lumpectomy, and their boobs might not look the way they used to. They can have a serious issue with intimacy post-cancer treatment, and it's not discussed. It's just not discussed.
No.
And it should be. And they can use vaginal estrogen. Even the people that have had estrogen receptor positive breast cancer, all of those studies are coming out that they can safely use vaginal estrogen to get their vaginal mucosa back up and running, to get the health back. But we need to allow space for those conversations, because those women feel so unseen and so unheard, and it can have a serious effect on their self-confidence and their relationship and knock-on effects with everything. So yeah, it's really important that these are really important conversations, but that we've traditionally stayed away from, because oh God, we're talking about
shame, because of embarrassment, because we felt we were alone, because we felt that nobody else looked like that or felt like that.
Yeah. And it's like women that have gone through cancer, it's almost like, so you've recovered from cancer, so brilliant, that's an amazing outcome. And what often happens is they go through their cancer treatment like robots, because it's like they just need to get it done, and they've lots of support, and then the support falls away when they get the all clear, and they're kind of left there with almost PTSD, because they've just gone through it like a robot. But then they finally get to sit back and go, my body and my mind has been through so much. And then add in intimacy issues there too. If they're in a relationship, it's really serious. And if we don't discuss it openly, these women feel really left behind. And I actually devoted a whole chapter in my book to post-cancer vaginal care and intimacy, because it's just one. And I interviewed like a number of nurses and doctors, and they were they said, yeah. So often what happens is a woman is going through so much treatment and has taken on so much information that even to discuss that just seems like it's just another burden.
Yeah.
So they will often wait for the woman to come back and kind of say, oh, well, I have vaginal issues. But by then, they've had several UTIs. They may have not had sex for months and months and months. Their body doesn't look the same that it used to. Their self-confidence is low. So I think just being really open about it from the get-go is really important, because your partner just is coming along with you on this journey too. And obviously, you were talking about masturbation. Masturbation is so important as well. If people aren't in relationships, or if they just want to try masturbation for the first time, you're so right. It's an important part of our health that we have never really discussed, because of, I think it's that Catholic shame, isn't it? And it's that, we can't talk about sex, or we can't talk about vaginas. And that's why women are in this situation that they're in now, where they've never even looked at themselves, or...
Yeah. And not just talking about pleasure, but I think, and the great thing about what you do, don't be uncomfortable. Don't be in pain. That's that you don't have to be.
Yeah.
There's so much help out there. There's so many tools out there to help you. It's all there for you, and there's no reason to be ashamed, because the numbers are staggering as to the amount of women that suffer from incontinence, and
even endometriosis. It's 1 in 10 girls, women suffer from endometriosis. It often takes about 8 years to get diagnosed, if not longer. And by then, they've been suffering in a serious amount of pain. Their schoolwork's affected, their jobs are affected, sometimes their fertility is affected. And it's one I realise now. I'm talking like this, and I'm swinging this dildo around.
Yeah, I didn't even notice. Isn't that great?
See, there you go. Already you are.
Yeah.
You are. What do you say? Desensitized.
Oh, I'm totally desensitized. I knew what this was the minute you took it out. I was like, mine's a very different colour, but it does the same thing.
But so it's girls not thinking that really painful periods is something that they just have to put up with, or having to miss days from school, or bleeding through pads, or changing their pads more than a couple of times an hour.
Yep.
Or every hour. If they're changing the pad every hour, there's something wrong. If they're changing their tampon a few times a day, that's wrong. They shouldn't need to. So they need to go and get help. They shouldn't be living in pain.
Don't live in pain. Don't
be told that's just women's issues.
Do not be told that. There is help out there. Laura, you're an absolute star. Thank you so much for joining me today. Thanks. I know you're a very busy woman, and I'm keeping all your toys.
Picking it up off the ground now.